episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast celebrating women who made or are making their mark on our society. We have an incredibly talented guest with us today. Her legs go for miles and her soul is as goofy as they come. Alonzo Kingsline's ballet company member, Maddie Devries. Maddie, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, of course. Thanks for asking. This is awesome.
Some of our listeners may not be familiar with Alonzo Kingsline's ballet. Can you give us a little background information on the company?
Sure, yeah. So Alonzo King founded the company. We just celebrated our 35th year anniversary a couple years ago, so I think it's like 38 now. Yeah, he had the inspiration and drive to create a ballet company and create dancers that are just very human, and his whole ideology behind Lines Ballet is pretty unique in that way. So I was, totally wanting to dance with him, work with him, and I joined about 6 years ago now, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely means that you vibe with the ideas behind his company, with your company members. Are the majority of you, have you guys all been there for a while?
Yeah, there's definitely a range. I think the longest company member has been dancing there for 10 years. I think he just reached his 10th, and someone just joined this year. So there is definitely a range, and people kind of circulate through over the years, and it's always fun when new dancers come in and you get kind of like, like the fresh meat, and you're like, oh, how do you fit in here? And kind of nice to, new energy and new inspiration to all of us as well. So,
absolutely. What has been your most treasured moment with the company so far?
I guess there's been so many, being all over the world, but one of the ones that sticks out the most is being in Russia. We got invited to perform at this Context festival started by Diana Vishneva, and she brought us to the Mariinsky Theater. Yeah.
Dreams.
Dreams are made of. Definitely for a classical ballerina, and never thought I would get there, especially because I decided to be a contemporary dancer. But yeah, we were invited to perform there on this raked stage. At least I wasn't wearing pointe shoes. Actually, for one of the pieces we were. So that was fun. Gold everywhere, history in the walls, a lot of it.
What other companies were at this festival? Was it from the world, or was it primarily out of Russia?
It was definitely all over the world. Yeah, I remember there was this guy, solo act even. He was doing this like piece that he created. It was mostly like contemporary companies, but they brought in people from all over the world. It was awesome.
That's so interesting that they decided to have this festival at that theater, because maybe that must be the idea behind the festival itself, just to alter your expectations for what you're coming to see. That's so interesting. So you guys tour all over the world continually. Is it tough to maintain relationships with friends and family when you're always out?
Definitely. That was especially hard in the first couple of years of being in the company, trying to connect with people. And at first, actually, I didn't even have an international phone. So being abroad, you couldn't even like text or easily call. Mm-hmm. So it definitely felt isolating, and I think I struggled with all the travel at the beginning. But then that's when you develop the bonds that I did with the company members, and it became a real family unit now.
Yeah, especially since it's a small company. Yeah, with a small company, you're able to find common ground, I feel, a little quicker than if it were a large company of like 60 members.
Right, right, absolutely. And everyone is so unique. Alonzo has this way of like picking these humans that are brilliant, for one, brilliant artists, brilliant humans, like kind, generous, and like hilarious. We all have this like, I don't know, this youthfulness and this just like infectious, I don't know, infectious
Whimsy.
Yeah, we're all very whimsical, quirky people. Yeah. Love that.
That's probably the most fun for him to be able to create on people like that who are just going to yes and the, you know,
Yeah,
that's what I would assume he's looking for in the style that he creates in.
exactly. Yeah, everyone is so creative in that way. And yeah, the yes and I learned that. I took some improv classes actually. And good one. But everything they were saying in that improv class was directly correlating to what Alonzo says and what we practice and what we're working on in ourselves to you know, believe that what we're doing is right in the moment, to say yes and that nothing we do is wrong, basically. So it inspires us to be more creative and to constantly like dive deeper into what's possible even. And that's why Alonzo chooses people like that too, because that's what he believes. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. COVID-19 has been just affecting all of the arts, and not just the arts, all industries all around the world. How has it affected your season moving forward?
Yeah. We had been preparing for our home season here in San Francisco, and we got back from tour actually the day that shit hit the fan. Yeah, basically we all went into self-quarantining because we had been in actually in northern Italy for a little bit. Those shows were canceled, and they actually put us on a bus like the next day and shipped us back to France, 7-hour bus ride back to France. So yeah, we were on tour when actually all of this was going on, and then we finished the tour, came back, and then found out that everything from there on would basically be canceled. And we're kind of just waiting to hear now. We have performances in Madison and Overland Park in June. And as of now, those are not canceled, but time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing anything to keep yourself from going crazy right now?
Yes. My creative brain and my, you know, body can't really sit still. So I've been doing lots. I think part of me still is trying to stay active, so I will take some ballet classes in the morning or do a yoga class here and there. But then I'm painting, I'm learning French. What else am I doing? Going on walks. The beach. I live like 2 blocks from the ocean, so that's been a really big gift. And getting outside has been important for my sanity. Yeah, this afternoon we're gonna make window art for the passerbys. I'm gonna draw rainbows and write on the windows for people to see. So,
oh my gosh.
these kinds of things.
So with French, what made you decide to learn French?
We go there the most often. And I think that I took 2 years in high school. Just traveling to France a lot, I was like, I think I should be able to communicate more than I can.
Yeah, I can't write, it's one of those things where you're like, I feel like I should say more than hello, goodbye, and thank you, and where's the bathroom? Like, maybe wine.
Right, exactly, wine. Oh, that's another one of my interests these days.
As an artist, do you find it necessary and important to be passionate about other things that are outside of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any life experience really kind of gives fuel to my art and what I'm bringing to others and sharing. So I feel like the diversity for me is also just really good for my mental health, right? To like get outside of the studio, like do other things, take care of my plants. And yeah, I think that being creative in lots of different realms just keeps inspiring that creativity, which is really useful when it comes to the work that Alonzo asks us specifically. And even in like relationships, I think that is also a big thing. Just anything really, your whole life experience adds to your creativity.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you've taken some improv. Have you looked into any other acting courses?
Yeah, actually, during this quarantine, I took my first sit-in acting class, which was fun. I just found it online and had been wanting to actually go into more acting. That's something that does excite me or just interest me. So yeah, it was like a 3-hour online. Everyone was on Zoom. There were all these like little boxes, and then there was like mine, and it was a class that had been going on, so I just got to watch people do their monologues, and yeah, it was awesome. So their scenes.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that I've found in my favorite dancers is I feel like you have to be a great actor to be a great dancer because, pirouettes get old, you know, yeah, people, you see them kick their face once and you're like, cool, okay, can I feel something now? Like, other than being impressed?
Exactly. Yeah, there's all these like tricks that people hone in, and for years that was what I was working on, right? Like all the turnout, all the this, all of that. And then at a certain point, and especially at lines, that's what we're asked to bring is the quality and the deeper feeling of all of it, which communicates to me more than the legs and the turns and the jumps. So
Absolutely. I,
yeah.
I can't think of who it was to save my life, but I had been able to see the Kirov perform at Kennedy Center, and they were doing Les Sophies, and this woman, she just walked on stage, and I just like cried. It was one of those, right? Where you're like, wow.
Right.
She was just so in it and felt it, and there were no words involved. And I think that, yeah, acting is so important, and delving into those moments, those feelings, without even being able to use words to communicate them. Did you have a particular teacher who really inspired and encouraged you in dance or in academics that really helped you want to pursue your dreams further?
Yeah, there's been many along the way for sure. One of the teachers at the Pacific Northwest Ballet, actually, she was a principal in the company, and she also taught my level 8 class when I was there. And her quality was something that I always admired on the stage. I saw her do Swan Lake. She was Odette, and just the way she like brought her foot to passe was just like, yeah, like tear jerking, or like it was like her whole body was involved, and she was also somebody who was also goofy, and like she taught class and she would wear this like Weezer band t-shirt, and I just was like, you are the coolest. And so yeah, people like that in my life that I looked up to, that were just like yeah, you could see their personality on stage. It was like they're a human, and I want to be a human on stage too.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
Totally.
Would you say that your journey has always been smooth sailing?
Definitely not. Parts of it have, in certain ways, I think that, I have like a nice facility that makes it a little easier sometimes, but also, my turnout could be better. No, take that. But the struggle for me, I think, has been more of a like mental battle. And I mean, from a very young age, ballerinas are like out of the womb, we're looking in the mirror, right? And there's people telling you what to do, what not to do. This is wrong, that's wrong. So I think from an early age, it's always kind of like I've learned how to critique myself, and we're our hardest critic. It's probably good in some way, but I think in a lot of ways that's been like my biggest downfall is like my opinion of myself,
Yeah.
So that's been monumental, even in the last couple of years, to like grow in certain areas and learn how to have the confidence and the knowing of like who I am and how strong I am as a woman, as a human. But yeah, that's been a battle for sure.
Have you ever had any sidelining injuries?
Yes, I've sprained a couple of my ankles. One of them was super bad. I tore like all the ligaments in my ankle and it took me out for like a whole year, basically.
How were you able to keep yourself together during that time?
Yeah, that time I was still in the professional division at PNB, and so being a student, you're like, I don't know. Yeah, I was still young and just kind of like going through the motions of what they told me to do and kind of like wanting to be in ballet but not. And I think friends during that time was kind of what got me through that time.
Mm-hmm.
Being injured is not fun. I recently, well, I mean, as a professional dancer now, there's kind of always a pain that I'm having.
Yeah.
From my back pain to my knees. um,
Mm-hmm.
Deal with those kinds of things now that are different than back then.
Healthier, probably.
Healthier,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you've mentioned P&B and you're currently dancing with Alonzo Kings. What other companies have you danced with or trained with?
After PNB, I got an apprenticeship with the Semperoper Ballet. They're in Dresden, Germany. That was actually the first time I started taking contemporary classes also. So that was kind of like a door into how I transitioned from the classical world to the contemporary world in a way. Great experience, and half the time we would dance with the company and do all the classical rep, and then when we weren't doing the classical rep, they sent us to like a school basically, and we got to take contemporary classes, and that was my first like Gaga class I ever took, and that was a really good time. And then after that was so that was just for a year of my life, and I tried to stay in Europe actually. Yeah, took all these auditions, sent lots of emails, but nothing kind of really took. So I ended up moving back to Seattle. So that was just for a short little year living abroad, but it was a great experience.
Where did you go when you came back?
So I ended up, moving back in with my parents, which you don't really want to do, but my parents are super supportive, and it was a time of like not knowing. So yeah, moved back in with them, and it was also a time of me questioning like, do I want to do this? That was a big moment for me, and I think I kind of quickly decided that I did, but in the whole like being turned down at all these places and not getting a job, it really like plays with art. Am I capable of this? Is this something that I can do? Yeah, so it was hard, but I ended up doing lots of freelancing actually, and open classes, yoga classes, all these different classes to stay in shape. And then I would go and do these rehearsals with these smaller companies. But they taught me more, than I had learned. So it continued the train of like contemporary thought and learning and exploration. And for me, that was huge because that was like the lead up to my lines audition. So that was all like very important stuff in that year.
Absolutely. And it's funny how we can feel like things aren't going the way we thought they were going to go. And then it's all leading to something that like you were supposed to be back. You were supposed to be back. You were supposed to be taking class with these people and learning how to be a human and how to not question your own identity and self-worth in trying to fit in these molds of maybe a European company that you really thought you wanted to be a part of. Do you have people that you turn to in good and bad times, like a family member that's always there, or a friend you've had for a million years?
I definitely think that my mom, for a lot of things, she's just been there the entire time, so it works out. Yeah, she kind of had a nice transition from being my mom to my friend, which was really special. And so yeah, she'll get my calls and all my rants and complaints. And
That's a good support system to have, especially in this field, because there's so much uncertainty involved, and a lot of people don't initially jump to saying yes, keep doing it, you got it, especially parents who just want you to be safe and happy and secure.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm sure my mom was full of worry when I was living in Germany, but she still supported me. And
dance, particularly ballet, can be extremely cutthroat. Have you ever dealt with being brought down or looked at as specifically competition by other women, or have you felt like someone's actively trying to make sure you're not succeeding? Have you ever had that feeling in your career?
I feel like in a way, like definitely have felt the competitiveness and the cattiness from girls. I think that in a way though, I've been or tried to kind of stay above it or out of it with my goofiness in a way, like I think that a lot of that I don't want to be a part of, and I somehow my personality helped me to, I don't know, not get so much like hate and anger from people, because I'm just down to earth and I just want to be your friend, like
don't take yourself too seriously.
Right. There was a lot of like girls who, and yeah, they call them the bun heads, and I think I never really was one. Sometimes I'm like, oh, ballet, but it's different. I don't know. Like, there's this like obsession that happens with ballet, and it's a beautiful thing, but I think I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
No, it can be a little toxic. It can be a little draining. Have you found more camaraderie in the contemporary dance field?
Yeah, and maybe that's what also like saved me from all that, because I think if I had joined PNB or if I had done those other things, it would be a totally different environment, and just the amount of dancers, right? Like there's only 12 in my company, and we kind of all support each other and have to, and we're all super unique. It's like I can't really compare myself to another dancer because they're so different. and like the other women inspire me in their differences. So at times, like, you'll feel like a twinge of this what do you want to call it? Yeah, toxicity or
toxicity. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. But I think that at the end of the day, especially with my coworkers now, that we just want to support each other and be there for each other, which is a beautiful thing. And I think it is hard to find. I think it's not super common in the ballet world.
Do you have a dancer that you've always admired in and out of the studio?
That I dance with now, or like,
or just over, is there someone you've come across in your career, or not even come across necessarily, someone that you could have admired from afar because of what they do on the stage, off the stage, their reputation as a human, as a dancer?
I think that somebody who comes to mind now is Kara Wilkes, and she actually she's danced with Lines Ballet, and she retired. Yeah, Kara Wilkes has been somebody who I really admire. She is a full-on actress, and she is like the most like generous and kind person in and out of the studio. She's like someone that you want to talk to, someone that like she has this like light about her, and you can't like take your eye off her basically when she's dancing, when she's not dancing. You're just like, what's Kara doing over there? Yeah, she's a goofball.
If you could tell your high school self one thing, what would you tell yourself?
I think I would tell myself to like trust myself more, to be okay with who you are, and that like what you have to offer is beautiful, and to like just wait. You just wait. It'll
be a little more patient.
Yeah, and to like write it out. Like, I think that the whole journey, the journey to adulthood, I don't know, it's hard, like you don't know what you're gonna do. There's so many unknowns, and honestly, still I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm not saying I have reached this place of all satisfaction, but it was a hard journey, and even like through like the process with Alonzo has been difficult, but I've learned so much and grown so much. Like, I wouldn't have done it any other way,
Where would you like your career to be in 10 years? What do you see yourself doing?
It's fun to dream like that. Sometimes I have no idea. 10 years is a long ways away. I'm 28 now, so I will be...
It is.
28. Yeah, I hope that I'm still dancing, actually. I don't know where and in what capacity. I think part of me sometimes is like, could I dance in a classical company again? Or maybe like, yeah, I think this acting thing is interesting because I'm like, could that be my new journey or pathway that I take? And then like, I'm not dancing in 10 years, maybe. Yeah, I'm just like thinking out loud now. I have no idea.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of things on the docket. There's a lot of things that you would be okay with seeing yourself doing in 10 years, which is fun because it's in a place of not knowing, but having an idea, of where you can see it in a bunch of places, which that's always a really fun place to be in a place of choice. What message would you hope to give to aspiring dancers or aspiring creatives out there who have a dream but are scared of the pursuit?
Keep dreaming dreams and dream big. Being present in the moment where you're at, in a way, and like, yeah, to trust yourself and not give up even when it's really hard. And that all the like obstacles in the way like are really good and important like learning opportunities, and none of those obstacles are necessarily a bad thing. They could turn you to a better thing. And what your dream is now, maybe you there's a bigger dream that's gonna like satisfy you even better in the future, and you just don't know what that is yet. So just to really be, I guess, open to what that is, being open to all the possibilities and let it surprise you.
Was it difficult for you when you made the switch from classical ballet to contemporary? Did you feel like you were giving up a part of yourself, or did you feel like you were completing a part that you didn't know was empty, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, at times definitely a little bit of both. I feel like at first it was just this new like adventure and like risk that I was leaving and joining Alonzo King Lions Ballet, like that I didn't know much about, and I didn't really have any expectations. And yeah, I really dove in, and I didn't look back initially to the classical world at all, because it was all just so exciting. So in a way, my body loved it. Like certain things about the movement like made so much sense in my body, and brought healing in a lot of ways, but brought strength in ways that I didn't know I could be that strong. So it was kind of a great transition. I think when I think back sometimes and I'm like, oh, like I never did, well, I don't know, pick a ballet. I did some ballet. Or like seeing friends of mine that are still dancing in the classical world, and there's like a hint of that still, because I grew up with that dream for so long, and I look back and I'm like, oh, that also could have been fun, but the experiences I have now and my understanding of who I am in my artistry, I don't think I would have learned that way. And yeah, I'm really thankful, honestly.
That's so good that you've been able to still also find, you mentioned earlier, maybe I could go back into a classical ballet company, those dreams are there, and that's still viable. And so you found a way to not entirely dismiss a whole part of your life and continue forward with the new path.
Yeah.
So to finish the interview, though, it's time to ask the last two questions. I ask everyone the same last two questions. The first one is, what is your second favorite color?
Ooh, second favorite. Oh man, this is so hard. Why is it so hard?
Because you never think about it.
I love this question though. Right now, I would have to say it's like a hot pink.
Hot pink. Fair. Fair. That's a very vibrant option. Makes sense though.
Yeah.
With who you are. And our last question is, what, in your opinion, is the best part of being a woman?
This is a good question. It, to me, is a bit of a charged question, because it asks other questions within it. In my mind, I'm like, well, I can't just answer that, because it's like, well, for one, do I love being a woman? and then like, what makes a woman, right? Because I could say that I like wearing lipstick, but a man also likes wearing lipstick. Anyone can wear lipstick, right? So I think that for me, I do love being a woman, I'll say that. And yeah, as I think about it, like a couple things come to mind. For one, I think that there's like, and my mom has said this before too, that there's like a sisterhood that comes with being a woman that's really special. Maybe it's like the link of our cycles. I don't know. There's something that bonds us, Yeah, the other thing that I love about being a woman is kind of like breaking stereotypes. I don't know if like, yeah, I think I can love being a woman for that. I think there has been all these stereotypes built around what that means, and I think I like shattering them. I like that women partner men in Alonzo's company. I like Yeah, I've always been kind of a tomboy in some ways. And my roommate was saying this the other night. She was like, I just love that like you like are a tomboy, but you're like a ballerina. And like those don't really go together, but like it's awesome. But yeah, I think that I'm always like one to also like hang with the boys and like laugh with the boys, and I don't know, I like being strong and kind of breaking the stereotype of what a woman is and her, and it's also, I mean, it's beautiful, like the fragility and the femininity is a beautiful thing too, and I think it's like the pairing of both, right? Like what's so beautiful and what I love about all of that is like the strength that we have as women paired beautifully with our like our nurturing nature. Like you can't get away from that, and all that that is and encompasses the giving of life and the humanity of all of it. I think it's like very all encompassing, and they go hand in hand, and I love all that that is.
Yeah.
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 Kind of
Absolutely. So like I said, we are at the end of our interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today, Maddie.
yeah, of course.
I know times are uncertain, especially for the performing arts, and I appreciate your honesty, your perseverance. So keep on keeping on with your bad self. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another episode of Boss Ladies Being Amazing. Be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.